All right, okay. So there are more and more people joining us right now. Let me begin with this slide that talks about the different responses some of you have given to our question that we put in your sign-up form. We have asked, what does return mean to you? Because return is the theme of our event today. Most of you responded, and a couple of themes definitely stood out. One of your responses quite comprehensively captured those themes. In the center, that is, return is the right to go back to the place where your story began, your home, your land, your identity. It is restoring dignity that was taken, honoring generations who held on to keys and memories, and standing firm so that no amount of oppression can erase the people's belonging. Similar to this response, about a quarter of you brought up coming home, to one's own land and roots, and to a place of belonging. So return to you is fundamentally about a physical place, a sense of safety in that place, and ancestral roots tied to the place. Also captured in this response in the middle, and in many of your responses, is the theme of political resolution. Return is to you not just a journey back to a physical space, but achievement, political goals such as freedom, independence, and an end to occupation, colonialism, and racist apartheid. So we will surely be touching on justice, freedom, and rights throughout today's event as well. All right, okay, next slide, please. So right now we'll begin the event proper. As a quick introduction, hello everyone, welcome to our event today. I'm Coco, a member of Echoes of Gaza. We are a grassroots movement that seeks to educate about and advocate for Palestine. We are mostly based in Singapore, but we collaborate with regional partners as well. We organize events, visuals, and community conversations that center Palestinian voices. We document ongoing injustices through social media and our online archive. And we use art as a medium for education and collective action. All right, so we have a lot of segments coming up today. We would be establishing a few ground rules to make sure it stays a safe and conducive space for everyone for learning and for sharing. So first up, we adopt the Chatham House rules. We will not take screenshots, photos, or videos of our event audience, but as event organizers, we may be sharing reflections and responses from you today after the event, but we will never share your identities or tie any of your responses to your names. Second, note that we have our own AI note taker that's turned on for our own review after the event, but only our official note taker is allowed. So do make sure not to use any of your note-taking app or your platform. And if you have it on, please help us to turn it off as well. And thirdly, do maintain your own anonymity to the extent that you prefer. So you can keep your camera off, use your initials or nickname, and you could do so by updating your name in the settings of your Google account. So if you have any concerns to any of the above points, please let us know. All right, so on tone and language, let us also be kind to each other. Let us make sure we are respectful at all times in our tone, in our choice of words, not use any abusive language. Let's also speak kindly by adopting an open-minded and curious attitude when raising questions or comments. And for this event, throughout the 2 hours, it's focused on Palestine. So caveat, a disclaimer is that chats are monitored for safety by our moderators, and anyone violating the guidelines will unfortunately have to be removed. Okay. So introducing our event proper, today's theme is AWDA, Return and Hope. Why AWDA? AWDA means the return in Arabic, a word Palestinians use as both defiance and hope. It appears in Palestinians' daily life. For instance, in Al-AWDA hospital in Jabalia, where healing is an act of survival. And also in Al-AWDA mosque in Rafah, where prayers continue to carry memories of home. And why do we choose to hold this event today? Today, the 29th of November, is the International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian People. It was established by the UN General Assembly in late 1970s to memorialize the UN's 1947 adoption of the Partition Plan, a plan that divided historic Palestine to create a Jewish state on 55% of the land, leaving Palestinians with the rest. It triggered the Nakba, followed by decades of endless dispossession and ethnic cleansing till today. So this day urges all of us to stand firmly with Palestinians in their struggle for freedom, equality, and the restoration of their fundamental rights. One of these rights is none other than their right of return. Today, we center this right through lived memory, law, and actions of solidarity. You will get to hear voices from across the Palestinian diaspora and humanitarian organizations that recenter their rights. We hope to inspire our audience and ourselves to move from empathy to action, to link a global principle to what we can do in Singapore today. And I also know that there are event attendees who are not from Singapore, so we do hope that what we are sharing is also relevant to what you experience in your own country, in your home. So a reminder for all of us is that the struggle is far from over, and so is the hope for return. All right, so right now, we would move into our first word cloud to warm everyone up. Please scan this QR code with your phone or type the Menti website and key in the 8-digit code. You could also click the link that's in the group chat. Let us know what your intentions are for joining our event today. Okay, as more and more of you joined, also want to make a note that Dahlia was our official host for this event, but she had some emergencies and conflict in schedule. So apologies for those who joined to support her. I am stepping in as the host instead, and I'll try my best to do a good job in her place. All right, so what we see on the word cloud right now is that a lot of you are joining for solidarity, which is exactly what today is about. Also, we see learning, awareness, and knowledge. I think that's what we also hope to bring to you. And even we as organizers are constantly trying to learn, keep up to date, and connect with people on the ground, especially the Palestinians themselves. All right, I see a cute capo, which means minding other people's business in Singapore lingo. Okay. Yep, we would definitely want to show support and to build a community of resistance through this event as well. A heads up is that throughout this event, we will be engaging you through multiple means, through the Google Meet chat function, which is available for you to send your Q&A questions to interact with each other. We would have Mentimeter, polls, and a Padlet wall at the end of this event as well. So we strongly encourage enthusiastic participation from all of you to make this fulfilling for everyone. Okay, so I think we can close this Mentimeter and go on to the first segment of our program today, on the roots of return, where we discuss law, land, and living memory. So for our first speaker, whom I will introduce in a little bit, for him to know what everyone's beginning perception is, help us with this simple poll. Okay, so the poll has popped up. You just need to click on it. And let us know, in your view, what sustains a people's connection to their land. Okay, we have more votes coming in. As more and more of you join this poll and figure out how to submit the poll, hopefully it's straightforward enough. just sharing a little bit of my own perception, is that I think being in Singapore, a very new country, relatively to countries with much larger history, I don't consistently think about this problem and or the meaning of connection to my land. And in fact, because we are in a place where modernization and development is so rapid, I think understanding what Palestinians struggle with, it also makes me reflect about what my own land means to me and what connection I have with it. Okay, so we have quite a few people who choose memory and storytelling as the most outstanding option for them, as well as culture and tradition. Okay, I think we are good with the poll. And now I would introduce our first speaker, Baha Hilo. So Baha is a Palestinian educator, activist, and humanitarian from Bethlehem. Holding a sociology degree from Burj University, he has worked with organizations like the UN and YMCA and lectured internationally on Palestinian issues. As co-founder of Badu Resource Center, Baha champions the rights of refugees through legal advocacy and research. He also leads initiatives like To Be There, fostering global solidarity through education and cultural exchanges, and the Citadel and Preserve, which protects Palestinian heritage and identity. Baha has been featured in documentaries like World Citizen and Israelism, and is active on YouTube if you want to check him out. Baha continues to amplify Palestinian voices worldwide, including with us today. All right, Baha, the floor is yours to share about your lived memory about law and about olive trees as well. I'd love to hear it from you.
Thank you so much. And definitely thanks for Echoes of Gaza and AWDA initiative for having me. I just want to correct one piece of information. I work for Badil Center for Residency and Refugees Rights. I did not help co-found it. I was 17 years old when it was founded. And definitely like Badil Center for Refugees and Residency Rights, it's like the one center that continues to document the ongoing elimination and displacement of the Palestinian people from the land of Palestine. I want to start by referring to the title of Auda and Return. Auda or return is not something that is special to us as Palestinians. It's actually something that each and every person on the planet has. I want you to understand, like when you are sitting in the comfort of your home, to just look around you and recognize that every time you leave the comfort of your home, you leave it with the unchallenged belief and intention that you will be returning back to the comfort of your home. That kind of safety that you guys have, you don't question it. Like every morning when you leave your house to study or to go somewhere, this is the one thing that we as Palestinians have been denied to even practice. And right now, more than 66% of the Palestinian population have been forced to lose that sense of safety and that kind of like intention. When we leave home, we will be able to go back home safely. I want to speak about few things on the land of Palestine. I just want to remind everybody that the land of Palestine is a small geography, nearly 27,009 square kilometers. It's totally controlled by the government of the State of Israel, who do not shy away from calling the entirety of the land of Palestine the State of Israel. So we live in a place or in a reality where the Palestinian name for Palestine is Palestine, and the racist name for Palestine is the State of Israel. The State of Israel have been effectively in control of the land of Palestine partially in 1949 and completely since the year 1967. the precondition for having Israeli government control over the land of Palestine is the removal of Palestinian families. Families like, for example, my sorry, my mother's family, who lived in the largest part of Palestine, which was the city of Jaffa. The city of Jaffa was bombarded and attacked over a period of 3 months by the founders of the state of Israel. These are like 70,000 militants and terrorists that literally like demolished every sign of life in the largest city in Palestine, which is Jaffa. My family is one. My mother's family is one small family out of nearly 70,000 families that were forced to flee their city, escaping like the bombardment and destruction and elimination of life in a city that has been, in existence for nearly 3,000 years, which is actually from the time of the Phoenicians on the land of Palestine. If you color the images of Jaffa as you see them, it will look like an image you have taken from the city of Gaza, which is the largest Palestinian city right now. And so it's just like the same elimination, the same savagery, the same destruction, the same acts of terrorism, the same ideology that we have been forced to coexist with for more than 77 years. The difference is like the technology, the technology used by racist Israelis back in 1967 was a little bit more primitive than the technology that is used by them today. Their allies are the same, the white governments that have helped establishing the state of Israel and helped those savages to sustain themselves on the land of Palestine. 77 years, they are the exact same allies that continue to do the exact same dirty job today. And those like white governments continue to call themselves the international community, even though we know the majority of governments of the international community have been recognizing like the criminal behavior Palestinians have been subject to for over 70 plus years. I just want to say that when the founders of the state of Israel succeeded in removing Palestinians from their major cities by May 14, 1948, they continued their ethnic cleansing campaign and their first genocide towards villages. And as you know, in any kind of, let's say, state or country, the majority of the population live in the cities, right? But the majority of the localities are villages and towns. So when the founders of the state of Israel succeeded in removing the majority of the Palestinians from their cities, be it Fafad, be it Jaffa, be it Haifa, be it Akka, be it like, the major cities that we had in Palestine back in 1947, 48, and 49, they moved towards like implementing another like ethnic cleansing campaign after May 14th, 1948 to complete the ethnic cleansing of Palestine, where they succeeded in turning Palestinians like let's say 66% of the entire Palestinian family, the entire Palestinian population into refugees within the land of Palestine and outside of the land of Palestine. My father's family were residents of a village. So my mother's family were expelled before May 14th because they were residents of a city. My father's family were residents of a village near Bethlehem. It's called Al-Malha. I don't know if you can point it out on this map. And they were expelled towards the city of Bethlehem, only like 40 minutes walk away from their community. Both my mother's family, who ended up in Bethlehem, my father's family, who ended up in Bethlehem, were never allowed back to their family's property. When I say never allowed, meaning that they were never granted the element of safety to go back to their family's property. Many people tried to go back. So when I say can't, I'm not saying like we are disabled that we can't go back. I'm saying that we are not allowed and we are never granted the element of safety to go back to our family's property. What are the consequences? Consequences have always been murder. To understand that in the context of 1947, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, like all the way until 1966, you can look at what's happening to Palestinians right now in Gaza, which has been subject to the second Israeli genocide in 77 years. In the city of Gaza, if you try to go back to your communities, even sometimes the refugees camp, that you ended up or your family ended up in, if you try to go beyond that yellow line, you will also be murdered by the Israelis. So it's not like Palestinians in Gaza who are displaced within 48% of the strip can't go back. Like you can go and cross that imaginary yellow line, but if you do so, you will be murdered by the Israelis, which is exactly what my father's family and my mother's family were like forced to go through. In 1967, the state of Israel followed Palestinians and the rest of Palestine. So Bethlehem is in the occupied West Bank. Occupied West Bank between 1947 or 1949, sorry, and 1967 fell under Jordanian control. Do remember that the majority of Palestinian refugees live under the control of the Jordanian kingdom, right? So the largest Palestinian population outside of the land of Palestine exists in the Jordanian kingdom. So the Jordanian kingdom controlled a territory in Palestine that was called the West Bank of the River Jordan, and the Kingdom of Jordan had a truce between the Kingdom of Jordan and the State of Israel. Based on that truce, they did not allow Palestinians who ended up in the West Bank from returning back to their homes. So if you return back, it means it's a violation of the truce. That is bad. You are not allowed to go back. 1967, the State of Israel followed Palestinian families in the occupied West Bank. So many Palestinian families thought, okay, our family property is under Israel's control. We are under Israeli control, so we will be allowed to go back. The State of Israel continued to deny Palestinian refugees any right of return to their property, even when the State of Israel controls the property of the Palestinian families and controls the Palestinian families. So a Palestinian who would be allowed back or who would get back his family's property has always been viewed as an infiltrator. You need to know that the problem that we face in implementing our right to return to our family property is in conflict with the ideology of the State of Israel. The State of Israel is built on believing that the very existence of Palestinian families and Palestinian individuals is threatening. They call that the demographic problem, and it's a problem that those who established the State of Israel and the land of Palestine had from pre-state times. Like, for example, in the year 1936, like one of the founders of the State of Israel in the land of Palestine, a Polish fascist called David Weiss, he said that it must be clear that there is no room in the country for both people. So in 1936, when that Polish guy was staying in a room in the land of Palestine, he decided that there's no room for Palestinians in the land, while Palestinians were staying in their own room, So the very existence of the Palestinian people on the land of Palestine have always been viewed as a problem. So how to resolve that problem? Over the past 77 years, we realized that the way Israelis resolved the problem of the very existence of Palestinian people on the land of Palestine by subjecting our families to genocide, by subjecting our families to processes of ethnic cleansing. There are 9 policies that are carried out by Israeli government today, besides genocide and besides state terrorism, like 9 policies that the State of Israel implements. The outcome of those policies is the removal of a Palestinian individual, Palestinian family, Palestinian community of their land. So our very existence on the land of Palestine, is viewed as a problem, So what is it that the State of Israel is doing? It's resolving that problem by subjecting us to the exact same crime of ethnic cleansing that have been going on for more than 77 years. And as you have been seeing for the past 2 years, besides the crime of ethnic cleansing, the State of Israel have been getting away with the second crime of genocide, you know, exactly how they got away with the first crime of genocide that was going on between December 1947 and October of 1949. They have been allowed to get out with the second crime of genocide that have been going on between October of 2023 and is still going on up until today. In the same way, like my father's family have not been allowed back to their village, my mother's family have not been allowed to go back to their city. It doesn't mean that we have the zero right of going back to our family's property. Think about it in this way. Like when your family have this property, you inherit part of that property. When your family's property is being stolen by a thief or by a thug, then what you inherit is the loss, And you, as a member of Palestinian family, you will continue to struggle, until that loss is corrected, So as long as the state of Israel continues to deny Palestinian families access to their family property, as long as the state of Israel continues to maintain the theft of the property of Palestinian families, as long as the state of Israel continues to deny Palestinian families right of return, right to safety, to go back on their property, Palestinians will continue, to have a claim to their parents' like property. Do understand the right of return is not only granted by international law. Like put aside the 194 resolution. It is both an individual right and a collective right, It's just simply like when a thug steals your car, it doesn't mean that you just give up, When a thug steals your car, you will continue to struggle until your car is brought back, So it's not like you have to just, that thug is powerful and, is not allowing me back to my car. It doesn't matter. A thug is a thug, a thief is a thief. And, the fact that this thief is a nuclear power does not make him less of a thief or more of a thief. The fact that the Israeli government robs Palestinian families of their property does not mean that the robbery is, correct. It's just like they legalize a crime. That doesn't make the crime stop being a crime. If you legalize murder, that does not make murder correct. What is the way out? The way out is very simple. Allowing Palestinians to return back to their family's property. Of course, this concept that there's no room is a stupid concept because if Israelis do not know where the room is, like we will show them. Every single Palestinian on the planet knows the exact spot that their family have lived on. If if white people do not know where that point is, like we can show you where that point is. It's not because our families tell us the stories. It's because we have family names, and every family name is like the zip code. This is how we know where we are from. We have family names. Each and every Palestinian family comes from somewhere. So idiots like the founder of the state of Israel on the land of Palestine, like David Ben Gurion, who said like the old will die, the young will forget. He's stupid because he does not know that we have family names, and like we can never forget our family names, and therefore we can never forget where we are from. So just stop here, and if you guys have any questions on this issue, like I will be happy to answer some.
Thank you so much, Baha. Yes, I've learned so much. Okay, so one question from one of our attendees is, what are your thoughts on armed resistance to the occupying army, as well as military intervention?
Let's say, I wouldn't call it like armed resistance. Like direct action and resistance is resistance, there are different forms of rejecting oppression, different forms of rejecting injustice, different form of rejecting fascism, The state of Israel is an oppressive fascist like regime. It's just like a white supremacist regime. It's a product of social nationalism in Europe, and it has social nationalist like ideology. It upholds a social nationalist ideology. It upholds like a fascist nature, and it's just like a criminal state. So how do you express rejection to that state? Like, I'm not a person who can say like, oh, when somebody sacrifices his life for my freedom, then I should judge how they sacrifice their life. No, armed resistance is like one form of expression of rejection of oppression. If you support it, you support it. If you don't support it, don't support it. You know, if you can help with it, help with it. If you can't help with it, don't help with it. But like going around and saying like the problem is not Israel's savagery and Israel's genocide and Israel oppression and Israel apartheid and Israeli ethnic cleansing. The problem is Palestinian expressions of rejecting that savagery. You know, it's just a form of like blaming the victim. Like I'm as a person, I'm a pacifist. You know, but I'm not going as a pacifist. I'm not going to say anything wrong about a Palestinian who carries arms and sacrifice his life for my freedom. You know, that's dishonest. That's disgenuine. That's stupid. You know, because also at the same time, like at the same time, I show respect to those who sacrifice their lives for my freedom. I also recognize Palestinian sellouts who wear the Israeli military uniform to murder me and destroy my life, you know, in service of my oppressor, you know? So like, I do not have to say anything about like armed resistance, other than like it happens. It's a form of expression of rejection to criminal behavior. Now, if you don't approve of it, figure out a way to express rejection to Israeli criminal behavior in a way you are comfortable with, in ways that are compatible with your ethics. But do not go around and say like, well, this way that is not compatible with my ethics, therefore it's wrong. That's very stupid. Palestinian people should not be judged, and their behavior should not be judged. What needs to be judged is the behavior of Israeli savages. What needs to be judged is the behavior of those uphold Israeli racism, Israeli criminal behavior on the land of Palestine. That's what needs to be judged continuously until it's removed.
Yeah, understood, Baha. Yeah, thank you for reminding us that victim blaming is still very common, especially when people try to come up with a distracting argument, I would say, when we raise the problem of genocide and who the actual culprit is. Right. So going back to what you mentioned about families, about the zip codes being in your name, I think that is actually quite fascinating because I feel like in Singapore, we're actually a lot of people, they have immigrant ancestries and we're quite light-footed. We don't often have a taste of that. So could you share in Palestinian families, how do memories get preserved across generations about the home that used to be, especially for young people, young Palestinians who have never seen them?
Well, in a way, like there are many people in Singapore that identify as Chinese or Indian or Malay, or that doesn't make you more of a Singaporean or less of Singaporean. There are many people in the United States of America who identify as Irish. That does not make them less of Americans or more of Americans. There are many people in Brazil who identify as Italian. So like for us, we continue to identify as Palestinians regardless of where on the planet we end up. How do we pass the stories on? Like the stories are stories of physical and let's say sentimental ways. Like for example, we pass on our stories through our accents. So like sometimes, because we are a very diverse population, sometimes you can hear the accent of a Palestinian, regardless of where he is on the planet, and you know exactly like what kind of a region of Palestine he's from or she's from. Sometimes like the stories about like the city stories. Remember, like the city of Jaffa has been like a cultural center on the land of Palestine. Every family that has been expelled from the city of Jaffa, like have continued to understand and know what kind of professions they used to do or they used to have. Also, like every Palestinian community or a village is known for a certain like kind of produce many people refer to Jaffa as like the city of the oranges. Jaffa was not the city of the oranges. The villages around Jaffa were the villages of the oranges. Because peasants don't live in the city, right? Peasants like sell their produce in the city. The city is a cultural, political, industrial, economic center, and like many, because Jaffa was like very vibrant, so you have those stories that are passed on, which your family used to do 1, 2, 3, until Zionists like put hold on their evolution on the land of Jaffa. Your family in a village used to do 1, 2, 3. We are denied like the physical access, to the memory. But everything else is still there. The accent is still there. Like you walk, for example, in one of the refugee camps in Bethlehem, the Hisha, where you find families expelled from 42 Palestinian communities, or AWDA, where you find families expelled from nearly 32 Palestinian communities. And in every corner of those refugee camps, you still have traditions of weddings or burial that continue to be the exact same way as it has always been. You still have like the different accents. You have the stories that are passed on in our families. Our families is not like parents and children. Our families are like made of 5 generations that are connected. So grandparents, parents, yourself, children, and grandchildren. So the verbal way of communicating those stories help you understand the accent, help you understand where you are from, what you're all about, help you understand like your identity. How you react to that identity is up to you. How you interact with it is up to you. Like there are Palestinians who are very proud of their identity. There are Palestinians who are very ashamed of their identity. But your interaction with your identity doesn't really make you less of a Palestinian or more of a Palestinian. The issue is like, yes, we are denied access to the physical part of the memory, but we will get back to it. And you will be shocked. Like Palestinians will be walking on their ancestors' like property, knowing what this property is all about, knowing what this property is capable of producing, knowing like being connected to the indigenous wisdom that passed on to them through their families. A Palestinian peasant will continue to be a farmer, will continue to be a Palestinian peasant. A Palestinian like trader will continue to be in that way. A Palestinian educator will continue to be that. Like there is something you cannot actually ignore in Palestinian existence, which is like the memory of our blood cells, the indigenous wisdom that we inherit with or without our will. It's correct for the Irish, it's correct for the Italian, it's correct for the Palestinians, it's correct for the Chinese, it's correct for the Indian, regardless of where on the planet they live.
I definitely agree that every indigenous wisdom should be respected, and everyone should be actually thinking about where their roots are and what the ancestral land used to be. And for communities that continue to value that, I feel like we shouldn't be impinging on their rights in that way, because right now in this modern society, it's very easy to forget.
Oh, this is why like Israelis like honor their indigenous wisdom, which is a wisdom of fascism and elimination of other people. They are Polish fascists, they are German fascists, they are Russian fascists, and they are honoring their fascist like ancestry. On the other side, like Palestinians are different form of have a different form of an indigenous wisdom, and they continue to honor that. Like you can see that in their love and connection to their land and property. It's a land they are willing to die for. It's not a land they are willing. It's not a land that they are willing to kill for. And that's like that's a profound difference between like settler colonials and indigenous people, not only in Palestine but everywhere.
You're right. So indigenous wisdom that is in alignment with world peace and that does not promote violence. Okay, so we also have another question from an attendee about genuine impact that the international community could show, for instance, from Singapore. So for everyone's context, Baha is very well traveled. He goes speaks to different people around the world and is well connected with many different cultures and contexts as well. So Baha, could you speak about what international solidarity could look like that creates more tangible impact?
Well, many people mistake international community by being France, the UK, Germany, and white countries. Those are a minority of the international community. There were the white countries or European nations that have imposed Israel's fascism on the land of Palestine and continue to maintain what they have imposed on the land of Palestine. Those people will continue to enable Israeli criminal behavior on the land of Palestine, enable it, support it, maintain it, because of shared values that those fascists have with the state of Israel. But they are not the international community. They're just part of it, and I would say the most fascist part of it. International community, in terms of nation state, what they need to do is stop. Just stop intervening.
Yeah.
Just stop. Stop being in connection with the state of Israel. Many people say, what should international community do? They've done enough damage. They've done enough enabling of Israeli criminal behavior. What they need to do is to stop enabling Israeli criminal behavior. Just stop. Stop having diplomatic connections with Israeli criminals. Stop having economic connection with the state of Israel. Stop dealing with the state of Israel. Just stop. Because the reality, the way it is, Singapore being an example, or the United States being the example, or even South Africa being the example, or Brazil. Every country that has economic, diplomatic, and military connection with the state of Israel, and at the same time recognize the humanity of the Palestinians, and recognize that Palestinians deserve some kind of humanitarian aid. Those governments are supporting both sides of the same problem. Our problem is not the conditions of surviving Israeli oppression. No, our problem is Israeli oppression. How to solve that problem, end Israeli oppression. When you have countries supporting the oppressed and the oppressor, the only outcome of that support is maintaining oppression. When you have countries supporting the Israeli oppressor and the Palestinian victim of Israeli oppressor, that will only help maintaining oppression on the land of Palestine. So what I'm saying is stop maintaining Israeli oppression on the land of Palestine. Stop maintaining Israeli fascism on the land of Palestine. Stop maintaining Israeli genocide on the land of Palestine. Just stop. Because anything besides stopping will enable Israeli criminals to continue to commit crime on the land of Palestine, and will enable Israeli criminals to continue to get away with those crimes. So just stop. That.
Thank you, Baha.
I think.
Yeah, that's very refreshing, because I feel like a lot of times we talk about inaction being problematic, but in fact, if you see the other way around, in fact, what is needed is inaction in a different way altogether. So sanctioning in the form of no longer supporting, cutting the funding, cutting especially behind the scenes, under the table support for Israel.
And keep it under the table. Just in the course of Saudi Arabia, for example, Saudi Arabia does not have diplomatic connections with the state of Israel because their connections with the state of Israel are under the table. The United Arab Emirates, for so long, they have connection with the state of Israel under the table, but now they are so arrogant and right in your face, doing it. Uzbekistan for a while, it was under the table, and now they are very arrogant. So keep it under the table, Just do it as meet as the mafia meet, meet as thugs meet. Why do you meet out in the open? Why do you meet in an Israeli embassy? No, just you are dealing with a government of thugs and criminals.
You should be
deal
embarrassed.
with them as thugs and criminals and meet with them in the dungeons and meet with them in basements. Don't meet with them in front of everybody.
Because it's not something you should be proud of.
It's not something to it's not something to brag about. It's not a regime that you need to be connected with.
Thank you, Baha. So we have quite a couple of questions for you. We do have to move on to the next segment, but it's very good to see enthusiasm from the crowd. So I would say if Baha, you could see the questions and want to give a response via the chat, go ahead.
Okay.
Go check.
Now, I do not know how to check the chat.
No worries, our team would support you on the back end. All right. Okay, so someone could let Baha know how to access chat. And then let's move on to our next speaker. The next segment is about community. Okay. Give me a moment. Okay, next slide, please. I think we can skip this. Okay, the next segment is about returning to community, about ground-up resilience and development. So we have our next speaker, Brother Muntaser, with us today for this piece. So let me introduce briefly what he does and his background. Brother Muntaser was born in the old city of Jerusalem. He is a community leader and advocate for youth empowerment. He holds degrees in journalism and political science from Burj University as well, complemented by a certification in sports management and a master's in Jerusalem studies from Al-Quds University. His career spans roles in youth development, sports journalism, and organizational leadership, including serving as media spokesperson for Palestine at the 2012 London Olympics. Since 2012, Brother Muntaser has led the Burj Al-Luqluq Social Center as the executive manager, driving strategic programs that strengthen community resilience and cultural identity, which are the themes that we'll be focusing today with his talk. Okay, Brother Muntaser, handing it to you to introduce yourself a little bit, and then we'll play the video that you have prepared for us.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Muntaser Edkaidek. I'm the manager of organization in the old city of Jerusalem, which called Burj Al-Luqluq. In English, it's the Tower of the Stork. It's a bird, the bird stork. And this tower, it's in the corner of the wall of Jerusalem, which Burj Al-Luqluq, the north border and the east border is the wall of Jerusalem, the historical wall of Jerusalem. And we based inside the old city of Jerusalem, which is 9 dönüm. And when we're talking about 9 dönüm inside the old city of Jerusalem, we're talking about a huge area inside the old city of Jerusalem. This place, in 1991, the Israelis had a plan to build a settlement on the land. And the plan was to build 240 apartments. We, as a Palestinian people living in the area, Bab Hutta, we worked hard, we fight hard to stop building the settlement and to save the land from the Israeli municipality and to build the settlement and to change the demography of the old city of Jerusalem. What we're doing now, we're trying always to provide good services, projects to development the community, the youth, the women, and the children inside the old city of Jerusalem. During this time, for 7 years, along 7 years, we was fighting to keep the land as a Palestinian land in the beginning, between 1991 to 1998. And after 7 years, we improved in the courts that the land belonged to 2 Jerusalemites families. After that, we start to put strategies and to build programs to support the youth, the women, and the children. After all of that, we built 3 major projects. The first one is the education project, which supporting the kindergarten. We are part of Al-Quds University in sport education. They're having their lectures, the physical lectures in the fields, and we have after-school program. It's like a supporting, educational supporting for the school, for the children after school in Arabic, English, math, computer, and science. And the second major project is the empowerment. Empowerment means vocational training, empowerment for the women to find new jobs for the women by giving them some new skills, and empowerment, identity empowerment for the youth by building projects to support youth to keep the Palestinian identity inside Jerusalem under the occupation.
Mm.
The last project is the sport, which we have 500 children daily in Burj Al-Luqluq. We have 200 children having their classes of coaching football, 100 girls in basketball. We have 60 taekwondo, 60 parkour, and we have 30 table tennis and different other activities like baby foot, futsal, and other games.
Mm.
At the end of the day, the major point from our work is to keep this land. And I love if you can see the movie
Yep.
now on live of the Burj
Mm.
to see where exactly Burj Al-Luqluq based and about what I'm talking, because if you don't see the pictures or the videos, you will not know anything. Can we play it, please? So if you see, it's in English translated. لما نحكي برج اللقلق بنحكي عن ثاني أكبر مساحة بعد المسجد الأقصى المبارك داخل أسوار البلدة القديمة من القدس. البرج اليوم بشكل 9 دنومات وأضفنا إليها نصف دنم تقريبا اللي هي أرض الأميم. لما نحكي 9.5 دنم من الأرض بنحكي عن ثاني أكبر مساحة وعن 1% من مساحة البلدة القديمة، لأنه مساحة البلدة القديمة 9 1% من هاي المساحة تملكها جمعية فلسطينية. هذا مش إشي سهل، واللي أهم من هيك كمان موقعها الجغرافي داخل البلدة القديمة.
نقول أنه برج اللقلق هو المكان الذي تحول من مكان بور إلى مكان آمن لتفريغ طاقاتنا، طاقات شبابنا، طاقات فتياتنا بشكل إيجابي وبشكل آمن لشباب المقدسيين.
أنا شخصياً بالنسبة لي بعتبر برج اللقلق هو ثاني أهم مكان في القدس بعد المسجد الأقصى المبارك لحساسية المكان ولسعة المكان وحجمه. برج اللقلق هو عبارة عن حكاية صمود وحكاية صمود شعب.
لما بدنا نحكي عن برامج البرج بنحكي عن برامج بتم وضعها وبنائها من خلال عملنا وتجاربنا مع الحي المحيط بالجمعية ومع سكان البلدة القديمة والناس اللي بيعيشوا في هذا المكان. البرنامج الأول كان هو برنامج الرياضة، اللي أكثر برنامج بيجذب وبيستقطب الأطفال والشباب إلى برج اللقلق.
البرنامج الرياضي في جمعية برج اللقلق هو أكبر برنامج داخل الجمعية بسبب وجود الملاعب والمنشآت الرياضية داخل هذه المؤسسة. ملعب كرة القدم 1500 متر مربع، ملعب كرة سلة في مقاسات دولية، موجود داخل الجمعية عدة ألعاب رياضية.
أنا انشأت وترعرعت في جمعية برج اللقلق في عمر ال6 سنوات، وبعد التخصص أنا توظفت في برج اللقلق لمدة 5 سنوات. أنا حالياً بدرب فريق كرة قدم لفئة 2012-2013.
البرنامج
Okay. So, yep, so that's the end of the video. If you would like to
Okay.
look at more, yeah, go ahead. Muntaser.
there is a small picture. I love to share it from here so I can explain on it all the details. Can I do it?
Yeah, sounds good.
Is it now? Yeah. Show window. Okay, let's go. No. Cancel it. Just a second.
Yeah.
Screen share. Okay.
Okay. You could also try, if it's easier, just sending it to our team, and then we could share it from our end.
Okay. It's right here on the screen now. Shared or not? No. Stop show on the screen. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Can I do it now?
Right now, it's we are not seeing the photo that you shared, so I think you could send it to our team.
Okay.
We'll share it on our end.
Okay, I will send it to the team right
Thank you so much.
now. Just give me a check. File.
Yeah, so I think our team could take over the share screen.
Okay, ready. Send it. I did.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Okay.
Okay, so
So the picture I'm gonna show you here, it's not a picture. It's like a booklet about the Burj, but there's a picture with the yellow lines that showing the place exactly where based inside the old city of Jerusalem. Most of the time when we had stories like this in Jerusalem or in the West Bank, the people telling the world that come to see what the Israelis did for us. But I'm proud to tell you, here we tell, let's show you what we did in this case. We saved the land. We kept the land as a Palestinian land. And the major point is we keep working to support this community with no conditions fund. And this is why we're looking to build projects or to build a special week or days in Singapore to bring our team to play football and to tell the story of our land. So this picture is no, the first one, yes. You see the red lines? This is the wall of Jerusalem, exactly. The wall of Jerusalem, and we are inside the wall. And this is can tell you how much it's a huge area inside the old city of Jerusalem, which 1% of the old city of Jerusalem. And here we're talking about 9.5 dönüm exactly inside the old city of Jerusalem. When we're talking about the football field, we're talking about the biggest football field ever inside the old city of Jerusalem, the basketball too, and it's a huge compound, a community compound supporting the Palestinian community inside the old city of Jerusalem. It's not easy to think about something like that built, and we kept it as a Palestinian inside the old city of Jerusalem. So as I said, our point is what we're looking to do to bring our team to meet other youths from Singapore to talk about the Palestinian case and to do presentation in different locations, clubs, schools, universities, and to give them more information about the daily life of the youth in Jerusalem. I want to give you some percentage about the students or the children of Jerusalem. We have 28% of the children dropped out from schools in all the levels, all the stages. We have 51, they are dropped out from schools in the last level in Tawjih, which is called the final stage, 12th grade. Why? Because they need to leave the schools to work out, to support their families because of the high cost of living in Jerusalem. If you don't know, 78% of the Palestinian people in Jerusalem, the Jerusalemites, they are under the poverty line. When we're talking about under the poverty line, we're talking about 78%, they need to rent houses $1,500 a month. The minimum house, the very bad one, in a very bad area, with no location, with no services, it costs $1,000 monthly. Do you know what is the salaries? The monthly wages of the salaries in Jerusalem? It's 6,500 shekels. If he need to pay more than half of his salary only for a rent of house, so how he can cover all the other expenses in the house? He waiting when his children after 16 years old to work to support him to can cover the costs of the life in Jerusalem. This is why we have 51% of the last grade, they are dropped out from school. They never finished. They never go to the university. They go to work as a services work, a very bad conditions work in the Israeli side, just to support their families and to keep them supported. So this is how we live in Jerusalem. And this is why we want to talk with the world, talk with the other people about our case, about our daily life in Jerusalem, and how we face daily a racism way of behaviors from the Israelis when they are pushing on these children when they want to go to the Aqsa Mosque or to the old city. They stop them in the gates. They're doing a body checking for them in a very unbelievable way to let them never go back to the old city or to the Aqsa Mosque. But they're going back. They kept going back and they kept fighting because they believed that this place belonged to them and they will keep fighting about it.
Thank you so
So
much, Brother.
this is everything from my side. If you have any questions, I'm ready to answer all the questions.
Thank you for sharing. I think what you just talked about the social center, it inspires hope, like how Palestinian communities, your work, your team's work is trying to build resilience even amidst the huge continued transgressions and oppression that usually exerts on your people. Yep. So I would like to ask you further about the poverty line that you mentioned and the high cost of living. So how has that gotten worse over the years, if it has? And what do you see are the root causes of these things?
Let me explain to you. The Israelis trying always to close all the resources that can keep supporting this place to keep working and giving services and providing skills services for the people of Jerusalem. So one of the big conditions we have and problems is the support of the center, the money of supporting the center. Because when we're talking about 9 dirhams, we're talking about a full team of people working in this area. We have 3 guards, we have 2 cleaners outside, we have a maintenance guy, we have different projects implementing and people giving the trainings and the activities for the children. So we have a full team of 21 people. And they are, some of them full-time, some of them part-time, some of them working on hours. And this is need of from us a big effort of applying for projects from different organizations and NGOs in the world to have fun to keep this place running and sustainable. Burj Al-Luqluq, to access to the Burj, you have to pass from the gates of Jerusalem. And always there is soldiers checking and some dangerous things on children. But people sending their children to the Burj, do you know why? Because we provide all the services for free, which when the children having a sessions of taekwondo in any club in Jerusalem, he need to pay monthly $100. But in Burj Al-Luqluq, he paying $0. We have a kindergarten. The kindergarten in all, if it's not belong to the the government, in all Jerusalem, the minimum one is 500 shekels, which is $150 a month. In Burj Al-Luqluq, they pay $10. The point is, we're doing all the services for free or with low fees, because we want to keep the people sending their children and coming to the place to keep it full of people. And the only point that keep this place and save this place, because we have always projects, always people in the place, and they are full of youth and children between 300 to 500 daily. So this is the point.
Thank you, Brother Muntaser. Right, so could you share with us how then does your social center manage to keep the services free or at very low cost to keep it sustainable?
Yes. We applied for so many projects, international projects. We have project with the UNICEF, and it was not easy to get to the level of UNICEF because we built so many structures in the organization of tendering, of management, of financial, so many, manuals. So in the end of the day, we have a fund from the UNICEF supporting a project for the children between 12 to 18 years old. We have another project by UNFPA. It's supporting a part of the work with the youth. And we have another projects with the UNDP supporting empowerment projects for women. My point is, if we don't have these projects, we will stop working. And how we got these projects? We apply. It's a big challenge to apply and to wait and to get the fund. So what we're doing, we build friends. Another project is called the Friends of the Burj. And we try to build these friends from all over the world, from different locations, support the organization by a yearly fee. that can cover the running cost of the place. And this is one of the point why we're looking to organize something in Singapore, in these countries around Singapore to meet people, talking about the idea and keep this place in the Palestinian identity and with the same situation, because the Israelis in the last 2 years, they're pushing so hard to make us stop and to put their hand on the place.
Thank you. Yeah, I can imagine that it's always been difficult, and in past few years, given that Israel is getting more and more bold in all the repressions, it's been even more difficult for you to maintain your social center. Right. So we do have a question from the chat as well about what forms of international support would genuinely help your organization. So I'm sure that funding is always of a need, right? So would you think that fundraising through by organizations around the world would be helpful, and what else could help?
Look, one of the good things that can help is to do presentation face to face with the people, especially with the business people that believing in the Palestinian case. If we sit with them on the same table and talking with them about the real situation we had in Jerusalem and in Palestine, and how we faced these problems and how we work to find solutions to keep working in Jerusalem, supporting the community in the old city of Jerusalem, especially, and around the old city, this can make them really support and believe in the idea. We have friends in different locations in the world, and these people, their support, making us working till now. If we don't have this support, I'm telling you, the Israelis have a budget in the last 5 years in Jerusalem. It reached to 14 billion shekels, which almost $4 billion. Do you know for what? To development, the education, and the after-school programs in East Jerusalem. Why? To build a new generation of children that believing in Israel as their country.
That's wrong.
And here is the big challenge. Here what we are trying to do, to found different locations with a Palestinian identity to keep our children. Money in this were talks. Sorry to say that. Because in Jerusalem, I can't hold Palestinian flag. If I did, they will take me to the jail. If I'm talking anything about Gaza, they're taking me to the jail too. If I did any statement on Facebook or social media, I will go to the jail too. What I need to do is to keep ourselves in Jerusalem. Resilience. Here, we're talking about resilience. Resilience is to make a person can live, stayed, studied, worked in Jerusalem.
Thank you. Right. So I have one last question, Brother Muntaser. So actually just now, Brother Baha also mentioned about how some Palestinians are proud to be Palestinian and some are getting ashamed to be Palestinian. So I'm wondering, for the youth whom you have seen in your social center and interact and try to get to education, have you seen this struggle where they are struggling with their Palestinian identity, especially as teenagers who are dealing with growing pains themselves?
Look, all during the full history of Jerusalem and Palestine, they did everything to make our youth to forget their identity. They made so many games. They paid millions or trillions to make us forget our identity. But I can tell you, will never gonna be happen. Our youth, in the end of the day, believe that they are Palestinians and they will keep their identity with all the situation and under all the stress and the, let's say, the racism that they used to make them forget their identity. In the end of the day, they believe that this land belongs to them. And they will keep fighting to save the land, to stay in the land, And the Aqsa Mosque, always remembering every one of them, that this place belonged to them.
Thank you, Brother Muntaser. I'm very glad to hear that, and I really wish that the youth continue to hold that spirit no matter the difficulties.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Okay, so now we would be moving on to the third section, which is about action now. So, and in fact, it's about beyond Palestinians fighting for themselves, what the international community could do. So this next part will be about how we could sustain solidarity across borders. Okay, so our next guest is Dr. Fauziah Hassan. She is unable to be with us today, so instead we'll be screening a pre-recorded interview with her. Dr. Fauziah Hassan is the chairperson of the Asia Pacific Women's Coalition for Al-Quds in Palestine. So on that profile, that's how we invited her to be the guest, to be talking with us about fostering and sustaining the solidarity movement in our region. So a little bit more about her. Dr. Fauziah is a Malaysian obstetrician and gynecologist with over 4 decades of clinical experience. She also has a distinguished record in humanitarian and pro-Palestinian advocacy, having led medical missions to conflict and disaster zones, including Kosovo, Gaza, Syria. Dr. Fauziah was also a participant in the Women's Go to Gaza in 2016 and the Freedom Flotilla Coalition this year. She chairs and advises several humanitarian organizations, including Rose to Rose under My Care, based in Malaysia, and has been honored with multiple awards. Her work reflects a lifelong commitment to justice, humanitarian care, and the empowerment of women in advocacy. Okay, so we could go ahead with the interview recording. Give us a moment. Could you share about the origin of APWCQP, which you are the chairperson of, how that came about from the Global Coalition, and how you got involved?
Yeah. The Global Women Coalition formed in 2014, and there are about 52 countries now with 261 organization institutions joining together to work for Palestine. So I was involved when I was called to become the Secretary General of the Global Coalition, of the Women Global Coalition in 2017. So I was the Secretary for 4 years. So when I was the Secretary, we were discussing how to expand our network. So we started forming coalition in our own countries. So in Malaysia, we formed Malaysian Women Coalition for Al-Quds and Palestine. And there are about 19 NGOs under that. And we start going to places, namely Indonesia first. And in 2020, just before the COVID, we had a retreat or a conference to form the APWCQP. Wow. So at that time, only 2 countries, Malaysia and Indonesia. And we decided that Indonesia should take the lead for the 4 years. So our president now, the president for Global Women Coalition for Al-Quds and Palestine is Sister Ustazah Nurjana Helwani from Indonesia. She was the chairperson of APWCQP before. So after 4 years, we decided that the chairmanship has to be moved around the countries that form the APWCQP. So in June 2025, the leadership changed to Malaysia. So that's why I was elected to lead the APWCQP for the next 4 terms. And Alhamdulillah, in the last 4 years, we also roped in Thailand and also Maldives to be part of the Asia Pacific Women Coalition for Al-Quds and Palestine. So one of our work now is actually to expand further to many, many countries. Yes.
Yeah. All right. So you mentioned already about the expansion of collaboration in our region. What would you say are the key approaches to the collaboration? What form of collaboration do you see have been most effective?
Okay, we have so far out of the 4 countries, we sometimes do an online conference or a face-to-face international conference, which we have held, I think 3, ICPKL 1 and 2, and this year when they transferred the leadership to me, it was in Bandung. So we are planning maybe next year or 2027 to have another one, international conference for Palestine, inshallah. Number two, we also engage into the media and digital messages. So APWCQP, if you go to our Instagram, every week there is something talking about culture, architecture, history, food, culinary of Palestine, because we want to decolonize humanity. So we want to show what are the Palestinians. When we wear this, what actually all these lines mean. It means some form of resistance and so on. So these posters on Instagram, we send it to our countries that is involved in Asia Pacific, like Thailand. They translate it into their language so that the advocacy can reach to the people of that country. Because we use English, but Singapore, maybe you don't have to change. Indonesia, change it to Indonesian language, and Maldives, change it to Maldivian language.
I see.
So that's one of the things that we are planning. We are doing now, and we are planning to produce one book. I'm not sure yet. We are still in the discussion, whereby each country will write one chapter, and it is going to be Asia Pacific production of something on Palestine.
So going back to the solidarity, a little bit related to the struggles part of things, what do you see or have experienced as some challenges to expanding beyond your own national borders in collaboration?
Of course, when you want to do a lot of projects, you want to expand, you need a lot of financial support.
Right.
And at the moment, when we were asking Indonesia before, is there any money for you to transfer to me so that I can expand? Zero money. So we started off with zero money. And I think Indonesia has been doing it through donations that people have been donating to them. So there is a problem of donor fatigue.
Yeah.
So we are trying to find ways of how to fund ourselves. We are started to think of a few options, like going to big corporation where they have the CSR and asking for to fund us for operation, not for the project in Gaza. So we have got a few corporations who actually wanted to donate to us monthly, even though it's not a lot, but at least it keeps us going. Like you want to print, you want to have a project, you want to go Singapore, everything. So all needs money. So of course, number one is a financial aspect of it. Number two, young women, of course, they want to dedicate themselves to this humanity project and so on. And sometimes it is very, very, like if you want to, just weekend, we organized a high tea in Seremban, trying to get money to fund a baby bag project.
Right.
Where in the baby bag, we put a baby meal, the baby food and so on and so forth. So it is hard work to have a charity dinner and having 400 people came in the last time. And trying to achieve such a big amount of money to achieve that amount of money. So some of the women, they have children, young children, they are just starting their family. So of course they cannot give that much contribution. For us, we are all old people already retired. I'm not retired, I'm still working. So trying to find time, and that's challenging for the young women. Maybe for the old people, they may have they may be limited by mobility and limited by maybe diseases and so on and so forth. But I am amazed that young people like yourself and also the mature people like ourselves are still, despite all odds, are still putting a lot of effort to ensure that we have a footprint in the process of getting Palestine free, inshallah.
In addition to finances, have you also observed differences in culture or differences in political sensitivities, especially when you're expanding to beyond Indonesia?
Yes, like Thailand, you know, they are the minority. But to our surprise, the support for Palestine is getting stronger and stronger. We could even, they could even do Palestinian conference in Chulalongkorn University. So meaning that there is support to allow us to have conferences in a very famous university in Thailand. I think they had it twice in Chulalongkorn. I went to one of them. And now I think Thailand said they are going to have another program, interfaith program, I think, or intercultural program to include everybody else to be involved.
I'm just wondering what the experience with trying to work with Singapore has been, because we are really just right across the border. By right, it would seem straightforward to be in close collaboration on this. So what has been some obstacles perhaps that you faced?
Well, I think there is some change in your government's point of view. Before, it was really pro-Israeli, but now there are already statements coming from your government saying that they are supporting Palestine. So when it was really pro-Israeli, we were hesitant to actually approach, even though we do invite Singaporeans to come on with our conferences and so on. And we were thinking of meeting up with your president before, the lady president. Yes.
Halima.
Yes, Halima. So we were attempting to connect to her, but of course it did not materialize. But we are not giving up. Now that we know you, and I have met also a few Singaporeans that we want to connect, and inshallah, the country closest to us is the first one for us to expand, either late this year or early next year, inshallah.
Yes, really, hopefully. Yeah, and now that Madam Halima Yaakob, she is retired from her presidency, hopefully arranging a meeting with her would be possible.
Yeah, even though she has retired, maybe with her influence, we actually want some say from her so that it can go to the Singaporeans.
In the most recent Freedom Frontier Coalition just last month, what do you see as the key differences? So one would be the extent of the genocide. Then the other ones would be, how do you see the media perception, the attention, the number of people who want to participate?
Well, in 2016, it was just a small boat, 13 of us, and all women of all ages. But the Conscience is a big cruise ship. It can occupy about 200 participants, but we only had 92 participants on the big cruise, a ship called the Conscience. And as you know, the Conscience was bombed in May outside the international waters of Malta. So, and we know who bombed the ship, and there is so much silence from the world. So when we sail again with the Conscience, we want to bring media attention as much as we could.
So were there moments of tension or difficulties or stalemates even when different approaches, people had different opinions about what the best approach, especially in such a big global effort?
Well, of course, there is some tension, but I mean, even in the family also we have tensions. What more if now global coalition with so many different languages, so many different ways of doing things, so many different cultures, so many different belief system, and so on and so forth. Of course, but I suppose the more mature people will say, okay, you can go ahead with the sumut. We will support you, but we will not join or something like that. So, but we are supporting. We give all our expertise. There are, all our expertise, our lawyers, international lawyers go to the sumut to support. We are supporting even though we are not involved, but we are supporting.
That's a very good point.
One example one thing that I learned when I was on the Women's Boat to Gaza 2016 and the Conscience 2025 is that, as I said to you before, there are so many people with so many varied differences in language, belief, way of speaking, and so on and so forth. And yet we can be united in one focus, that is to break the siege of Gaza.
Exactly.
So you sort of put away all your differences for the time being and work and focus on that.
Yes.
So actually we can do, and don't focus on your differences, but focus on your same apa nak cakap in Malay, you don't focus on your differences, but focus on your the same focus of what you do.
All right, I'll let you have a few last words of wisdom to share with us who are much less experienced, I would say, in this activism journey. What do you think we should keep in mind as we move forward?
I think everybody wants a peaceful life. Everybody wants truth and justice, and everybody wants to be dignified. Nobody likes to be humiliated. So sometimes to be able to do something for Palestine directly, we cannot see how it's to be done. But what we can do is we can improve ourselves to be better, to be speaking truthfully, to be honest, to be just, and to uphold humanity and to uphold justice and speak the truth. Okay, so meaning that if we try to not infiltrate, to put all these good qualities in our society, inshallah, if they have this, they have the humanity, they will go and fight for, not fight, but will stand for Palestine to ensure that justice, truth, and freedom to be dignified is also their right in the Palestine. So number one is improve ourselves. Number two is that you cannot do this alone. If you do it alone, of course, in the beginning, you will be very semangat. You will be very highly motivated, energy. But because if you don't have any support, and then you see that all your energy is waste because there is no action, the killing is still happening, the demolition, the stealing of the land is still happening, you will get frustrated and depressed. So you have to go into a coalition or NGO or something, because when you work together, you become stronger. And also ideas comes and we support each other. Whoever is weak in one point will help with the other. If you are strong, then we support to be stronger. Number three is that use whatever skill you have. And I think if you really want, you can think, what are the skills that I have that I can do to promote Palestine. Last time maybe I think art. What can you do with art for me? Because I also don't know how to draw. But art is very, very powerful. You know, our boats, when they started off the journey, is all empty. But the boat reach one port to another. And at each port, the artists come and paint all the murals that show the Palestinian struggle. And in one of the port, because of the mural, the tourists who came and visit the port saw this mural and asked, what is it all about? So it's actually a way of asking them to be aware of things. And then the couple said, how can I help you? We are tourists here. So we say, okay, if you want to help, you can clean our bed sheets. Because at the port, we clean everything. So they took the whole laundry and went out to wash and dry and fold and give back to them. So you see, I mean, if you really want to help, there is no limit to help. And there is no saying that, Allah, I only have a little bit. And know that our little bits, little drops make an ocean. So with all the contribution, inshallah, Palestine will be free.
All right. Thank you all for sitting through this interview snippet. So we actually ended up having almost an hour of conversation with Dr. Fauziah because she is just so inspiring and there were so many things to hear from her decades of experience. We will be putting up this full video on our YouTube channel in a few weeks' time. So do keep a lookout for our Instagram update on that when that happens. I would say if you have the time and you are already inspired by this short snippet, do check that out because it was overall a very inspiring and uplifting chat. And I would say she's gone through a lot. Her motivation and optimism is very infectious. Okay, so unfortunately, we can't do a live Q&A with her today, but what we'll do instead is to brainstorm together based on what we've just heard from her. Okay, so everyone could help us scan this QR code that brings you to another mentee meter. It's an open-ended question on how do you think Singaporeans can best contribute to regional solidarity? So for those folks who are not based in Singapore, feel free to share in your own context as well. You could share where you're from, but without reviewing your own name. Yes, so about social media, I do that a lot as well, and I think it's still very important. Shadow banning is always against us, but we would still try to fight the tide and try to find ways to mess up with the algorithm or to overcome the restrictions they impose on us. Yep. Do provide your responses. So I think being organized is very important, especially when we want to sustain our own efforts as advocates. We need to be able to support each other. I think something that Dr. Fauziah said that really sparked a thought in me is that there are many ways to help, like she mentioned, and even within a small country like Singapore, we have different groups. Echoes of Gaza takes a certain approach, and we have other groups that take other approaches to speaking up for Palestine. We are already a minority, I would say, for advocating for Palestine, so we shouldn't put each other down. we should try to find ways to support each other, even though we have diverse philosophies sometimes. Yep, quite a few of you are mentioning building connection, building bridges, and also the connection would extend to our fellow Southeast Asian siblings. That's a nice wordplay over there. Yep, I think given that our neighbors, by nature of them being more majority Muslim, also a lot of people tend to care more about Gaza, and given that their political space in some ways are also allowed for more freedom of expression there, sometimes perhaps our way of advocacy and supporting Palestine could be raising funds for them instead, where over there then they could use the funds to do more amplification work. Yep, I think there's a lot to learn from the Freedom Flotilla example that we talked about to Dr. Fauziah as well, because I feel like they managed to pull different groups of people all around the world, different ages, different race and religion, like Dr. Fauziah mentioned, to execute a mission to the extent possible until the Israelis either bomb the ships or not allow them to actually proceed to reach the Gaza shore. Yeah, but I think there could be a lot to learn over there on how to overcome differences and how to get a movement moving forward, even when there are differences that maybe can't be fully aligned or ironed out. Okay. Are we able to have yes, I think the point on boycotting as at least something tangible we could do on our day-to-day is important, and I feel like it's something that we could do to make ourselves feel like at least I'm contributing something. I think the emotional dissonance when it comes to us feeling so much but not being able to do anything, it could be upsetting, it could be demoralizing. So keeping ourselves going in ways like boycotting could help. I think I do agree that this having conversation about a topic could be emotional in many ways. I think it's very saddening what's happening. So to bring that up, it's sad. And also we have to deal with frustrations of how some naysayers have insensitive comments, or even a lot of anger at perhaps a lot of shocking things that some people could respond to that you've never expected. Okay, yep. Then let's move on to the next section. Thank you everyone for contributing. Now we will move from global action to local action. So Dr. Fauziah has shared with us how to build solidarity regionally. Now we bring the discussion even closer to home. How can we show solidarity in our everyday lives here in Singapore or wherever you are in your other countries? So our final guest speaker today is Ms. Yulianna Frederika. Ms. Yulianna is a dynamic change maker committed to fostering allyship and equity in Singapore. As founder of Lepak Conversations, she has inclusive dialogue to amplify Malay Muslim voices. This includes sparking national conversations on workplace rights and cultural representation. So Yulianna's work extends globally through volunteering with the Palestinian Scholarship Initiative, a grassroots effort supporting the education of Palestinian students in Singapore. She was formerly also the social media manager at Rise Media, and she's been often invited to dialogues of national importance for her insights. And through those, she has shaped narratives on activism and identity. In just 27, Ms. Yulianna continues to champion unity, empathy, and representation, values that resonate deeply in conversations of justice and global solidarity. All right, so hi Yulianna. Nice to have you aboard. Would you like to
having me?
Yeah, furnish even more introduction of yourself beyond what I shared?
I think you've shared a lot.
Okay.
But I think the main work I've done, especially with Palestinian advocacy, is with Lepak Conversations, and also the Palestinian Scholarship Initiative. So I think just to set a bit more context of the Singapore landscape in terms of Palestinian advocacy, there are a lot of limits to what we can do because of a lot of state regulations and policies. And on top of that, I think we see a very deep empathy among Singaporeans. And for that reason, it's only after 7 October that a lot more Singaporeans know of what's happening in Gaza and Palestine. So a lot of our work really revolves around increasing awareness. So I think for us, when 7 October happened, we had to really pause and ask ourselves, what is it that Singapore needs? What does Singapore and Singaporeans need? Because we realized it really is a very big issue, and if someone is very new to it, it can feel very overwhelming. So the very first thing we did was to post educational content on Instagram, explaining what do terms like genocide mean, and all of these different, simplifying a lot of the terms that they might be hearing for the first time. And then later on, I think we got more opportunities to gather the community together, and then of course push for change at the policy level. And then the Palestinian Scholarship Initiative, I'm a volunteer with the team, and the team really is made up of friends, and it was really just one day, I think it was April last year, where we all got together and just brainstormed ideas of what we can do for Palestine. And somehow the scholarship seems like a very feasible one. And I think it's still unreal to us that 1 year later, we have 4 scholarships given out to Palestinian students who are from Gaza directly, and 3 of them have already started their studies in local universities here in Singapore. Although one of the scholars unfortunately was not able to evacuate in time, but her scholarship will be held until next year, and hopefully she can evacuate then, and the situation is better in Gaza as well. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. I'm sure there's a lot more questions that our guests could ask about the Lipat conversations as well as Palestinian Scholarship Initiative, especially for people who perhaps want to join them or contribute in Singapore, right? Because after all, now we're talking about organizations and events that you could actually participate in much more easily. Okay, so going back to Lipat conversations, Yulianna, so you talked about, you are the co-founder of Lipat, and how it began was to dedicate effort to fostering conversations, right? Mm-hmm. That's why the name Lipat Conversations. How do you arrive at the conclusion that conversations are how you want to practice your advocacy?
I think it's really because our everyday conversations are not really, it lacked depth, in my opinion. I started Lipat Conversations when it was the general elections. It was my first time voting, and I think that was when I realized how important politics was and my role in shaping politics in Singapore. And it just so happened that I think social media at the time was the Black Lives Matters movement was happening on social media, and I think that's where I think many of us saw the power of sharing and having conversations on social media. So I was very much inspired by that movement, and that was when I thought, okay, I think the easiest way to talk about issues that might be a bit difficult to understand, or maybe people feel a bit uncomfortable talking about, is really just to try to have very casual conversations about it, which is what Lipat Conversations means, right? Lipat is a Malay word that means chill or relaxed. So it means relaxed conversation. So that's really why we chose to conversations as the medium. And I think it's been so inspiring hearing our speakers share. And as Singaporeans, I think a lot of us feel very helpless because we don't have the same kind of ability to do what they can do. But I always say that conversations are the start of change. And for me, what I personally think is very, very impactful, the conversations that parents have with their children. And it's the reason why, that whole incident with our Ministry of Education, where the schools portrayed the Palestinian issue in a certain way, and parents disagreed with it, and became a very big national issue about how what's happening in Palestine is happening. That parents and children have a lot of power in that sense. And I think about my friends who are parents and they say like, oh, my child will not drink Milo, will boycott Milo, or will boycott Coca-Cola. And I think about how powerful that is, that we raise children of the next generation who, they grow up already knowing all of these things, and these are normalized ideas for them. Whereas for the rest of us, we're probably struggling because the issue is so new to us. We don't know. We are so, in a sense, we are a very self-centered society. We are very pragmatic, very economic-driven society, and it takes a new muscle for us to see beyond, right? See the humanity in different things and see how issues so far away from us actually affect us, but also how we have a role to play in it. So for me, like, I don't think it was strange that I started Lepak Conversations, because even before that, I was posting a lot on my Instagram stories about current affairs, social issues, and posting my opinions on it. And so I think my take is just do whatever you are comfortable doing, do whatever that you know you have a strength in, and then I think that's the best kind of work that you can do. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. What you said is a very good point. I think I also resonate a lot on how important holding an effective conversation is, because actually I'm of the same age and my first time voting was also GE 2020. And I think that was when I realized that, wow, I could end up in very heated conversations about my views. I think also first time voter, very enthusiastic. There was a lot for me to learn. Yeah. So on that note, I also want to hear further about what you mentioned, that the topic being overwhelming, Labour Conversations tried to make it approachable to people by explaining the terms of genocide and the rest that we've never heard before. So what were some responses that you got from people who were new, and how do you handle those responses?
Some responses from people that were new. I think the terms were not difficult to understand when we explain it, but I think it's the political history that is that people find hard to understand. And I think among the younger generation, it's not so apparent, but among the older generation who have very firm religious beliefs, it can be very hard for them to understand that what's happening in Palestine is a political issue and not a religious issue, right? And it started. It didn't start 2,000 years ago as per the Bible, whatever religious scripture they want to quote. And so I think that is the main challenge that we have, trying to change those deeply held beliefs that people have always had. But otherwise, I do think with a lot of issues, it's a matter of learning the language and what the terms mean, right? But also, and I think that offers that's a window for people to understand the issue. I do think Singapore, being a very young country, sometimes perhaps we struggle to understand the deep nuances of history and how history is rewritten for certain agendas. So yeah, I think for us, it's important for us to try to explain that as simply as possible. And so I think that was the main challenge. That was really the religious belief. And also, I guess, political beliefs. I think a lot of discussions were around whether we should go with a one-state solution or two-state solution, and how Singapore can help to achieve that. And a lot of, I think till today, the challenge still is in this question of, is it realistic or not? I think Singapore is a very pragmatic country, and we always want a solution that is realistic. But I think that it's always important to push for the change that we want to see, even if it seems impossible today. I mean, if you speak to Prof. Walid, who is a very strong and a long time advocate for Palestine, he would say that 16 years ago, he would never imagine that so many people in Singapore would care so much about Palestine, but it is happening now. So I think it's very, very important to push for the change that you want to see, and not think that something is impossible, especially because there are a lot of regulations and laws in Singapore. I think we we don't always get to see how powerful people power is, especially in Singapore. Oftentimes because the way we can express people power is quite limited, but there really is strength to it. And you can see that through how in Parliament, the very first Parliament session this year, I think it was like 13 MPs who were debating about Palestine for almost 2 hours, and that is a huge step in the right direction. So I think we should always try to really push for the change that we want to see. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, Yulianna, you brought up quite a few topics that I would like to emphasize and also explain a little bit to our audience. So the first is whether this genocide is a religious or political issue, right? So I think that reminded me of how when I started out learning about this issue, I also didn't know that much. And it took a lot of education on my own part to be clear that, hey, this is actually a purely political conflict, genocide straight out that is disguised in religion, right? So Dr. Walid also reminded me once in his event that this thing is actually, or this genocide, this conflict is actually a lot simpler, a lot more straightforward than some other genocides that we could also mention. So it is on us as advocates for Palestine to educate ourselves, to be able to explain to people how this is a political issue and not a religious one. That the state of Israel today that we see from 1948 is different from the biblical Israel that's mentioned. Yep, so there's a lot more that we could go into it, that we could read up about. Okay, so another note is Israel is not much older than Singapore as well. So even though we have a short history, I feel like we should be able, and we are, as responsible advocates, we ought to learn about the becoming of Israel back from Balfour Declaration, for instance, 1913. Okay, so I rattled on quite a little bit. Let me look at the questions that people have posted in the chat. So the one I would ask is, for someone who has navigated the media spaces, do you have tips for us as citizens on reshaping public narratives in an environment where the fear of POFMA or other consequences can silence and then eventually cue empathy?
So I mean, I owe a lot to Rise Media in my approach to telling narratives to media, but I really do think that there's a lot of power in human stories. So I think when I was still at Rise Media when 7 October happened, and I saw the way they approached it, instead of the usual headlines that you see, what they tried to do was to make the issue closer to home. So they actually interviewed a Singaporean who has been volunteering with Palestinian refugees, I believe over in Egypt, and so that opened up a worldview for Singaporeans to see that, oh, actually, this is possible, and someone like me has done this. So, what's stopping me from caring about it or doing something about it? So I do feel, and stories, you cannot deny human stories. If you do deny human stories, then that's inhumane and that's cruel, right? That's an injustice. But human stories are so powerful and they should not be denied. And I think the emotions that come with it, the truth that comes with it, are so far what has been really, really powerful. And I think for the Palestinian Scholarship Initiative as well, I think one of the key motivations, personally for me, in wanting to be part of the team is to have the Palestinian students here, and to show Singaporeans that they're just another person here in Singapore. You don't have to view them any other way. They're just as human as us. They have aspirations similarly to us. So hopefully in the future, we will be able, I think the public will be able to meet the scholars. And I think for me personally, it's been a very heartwarming experience to meet the scholars, because they are the first Palestinians that I know personally. And you really just realize they have the same dreams as us, they have the same hopes as us, they like the same food as we do. We argue over food, they think Palestinian food is good, which of course I agree. But it's really just trying to get people to see our humanity and our shared commonalities lah. So in dealing with the media, it's really humanizing the issue, humanizing the people that are involved. Yeah.
Right. So speaking of the scholarship initiative, right, how have you observed has been the level of engagement and willingness for Singaporeans to support this initiative, and has it improved over time even to now?
I think it's been very encouraging, the support. The smallest donation we've gotten is $1 and $1. And we actually got a message from this person who donated that $1 saying, I don't have much, but $1 is all I can afford, so I'll donate. And to us, that $1 means so much more than perhaps, the bigger sum amount that's donated, because it really shows how motivated Singaporeans are and how well intentioned they are in wanting to help Palestinians. So I think we ran our fundraising for a few months and we actually exceeded our target, right? We wanted to raise 400,000, but we managed to raise 510,000 instead, which meant that instead of 2 scholars, we could take 4 scholars. So that really is because of, the strong support of Singaporeans. So the scholarship is really only possible because Singaporeans have been so keen to donate, and so many have been so willing to come forward and volunteer their time. And I think for us, one aspect that has been very, very important to us is the scholar support program, because we don't want to just we don't just want to give money to the students, right? We don't want to just give them scholarship. We want to make sure they are well taken care of, especially because they come from such disastrous circumstances, and they deserve a safe place. So for each scholar, they have 2 befrienders, one from the public and one from the university. So the public befriender, is someone who can help the scholar in case they don't know how to, take the MRT, or they don't know where to buy something. Then that's what that public befriender is for. And then the university befriender is someone who is in the university who can constantly check in on the scholar and make sure that they're keeping up with their studies, they're doing well, and that they're getting along well with their schoolmates. Yeah, so I think, and I think even when we closed the fundraiser, I think so many Singaporeans still kept asking us, like, when will the fundraiser open again, so that we can continue donating. And I think it also goes to show how much Singaporeans believe in education as a way to empower Palestinians, right? And I think it offers them a lot of hope, because there are a lot of other avenues to donate, and just like what Dr. Fauziah said, there is a donation fatigue. People get tired of donating, mostly because they don't know what kind of impact that donation is making. But with the Palestinian Scholarship Initiative, we know that the donation will impact the future of our scholars. So I think that's been it's really been very encouraging to see the support from Singaporeans.
Right, yeah, there's definitely a lot more follow-up questions on the scholarship. I think the first one would be, you said that the funding is closed, right? So
Yeah.
I wanted to have a little bit of call to action here. So is the funding going to be open soon, like you alluded to? Can people donate?
Will be open in a few months' time, because we will be having our next intake of scholars. So I think you can, if you follow PSI on Instagram, you'll be able to see when the fundraising call is open. Yeah.
Okay. And then on the other side, do you know how we could help Palestinians to be linked up to this scholarship? Perhaps you could give some background about how you reach out to the Palestinians and select them.
Right. Because I'm on the communications team, I think I was very, very surprised because our only outreach was through Instagram. And in the first few posts, it somehow already reached Palestinians, and not just Palestinians, but Palestinians in Gaza. So I do think, what I've been very impressed by is how resourceful the Palestinians are, and how strong-willed they are. Like, even in that situation, they still are thinking about furthering their studies. And in the end, in our first intake, I think almost 50% of our applicants are actually from Gaza, which is a very encouraging number. So I think the power of social media is very, very strong. I think Palestinians have been very resourceful in knowing how to use social media. So social media has been a very strong way for us to reach Palestinians. And secondly is we have a team member who founded OUR, which and she basically encourages universities globally to accept refugees to study in their university. So she's very well connected globally. This is Dr. Gul. So she has been able to reach out to her connections in universities around the world to help spread the word. So I think those were the two main avenues that we use to reach Palestinians. But honestly, I really think social media really allowed us to reach Palestinians, which I think is amazing.
Right. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so we're running a little bit tight on time, so I have one last question, and that is back, I think perhaps more relevant to your general advocacy or even lepak conversations. So someone asked, how could we have impactful conversations with politicians or people of influence? And I think something related would be, how do we avoid our advocacy being performative?
Okay. I'll address the first question. How do you have conversations with leaders? I mean, we used to have the strategy of being a bit more antagonistic and calling them out. And at that point of time, I think, I don't know, it still seemed okay to them. So they still did engage us. And I think the reason why they still did engage us was that they felt that they could trust us. So I think in our 5 years with lepak conversations, we realized that trust building is very important. And so it's important for you, I guess, as an organization or as an individual to know what you're trying to do, to be very clear about your objectives and your intentions. And to be very honest, I think leaders and government just don't want to be blindsided, right? They don't want you to say one thing, but then end up do another thing that might, cause other kind of risk or whatnot. So I think just be very clear and honest about your intention and objective. And generally, they're actually very, very willing to listen. I'm not saying this because I side with the government, but even with folks that have tried to do things that are out of bounds, they still do try to engage these folks. So I think though definitely if that opportunity comes, I think just take the opportunity and see how it goes. So if I can share how Live Gaza Monologues came about, it was really because I had that opportunity to have a closed-door dialogue with one of the ministers. And because the consensus from the participants of that closed-door dialogue was that they wanted a physical space to talk about, to come together in solidarity for Palestine. Therefore, that space for us to hold the Live Gaza Monologues was given to us. So in that sense, it was an engagement with the government that was productive. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad that the outcome turned out to be productive to secure space, actually. Right. Thank you so much, Yulianna. I think we'll move on to the next section. We do have one question for you that you could help address in the chat, if you don't mind. Yeah. You can explain further. Okay, so now we will proceed to the last segment of today, which is a quick one for everyone to reflect. Brainstorm, reflect, and commit to yourself, commit to Palestine. Right. So we would be going on a Padlet platform. So use your phone to scan this QR code. Yep. And on that Padlet, it's a question for you to reflect on how you want to return to Palestine, go back to how you want to support them through particular means. Okay, and could also flash the Padlet screen. The link is also available in the Google chat for those using your laptop. All right, so we have 3 pillars over here. You could choose one or contribute to all of them if you have thoughts. would you hope to share or contribute to remembering Palestine more, and advocating for Palestine more through stories, or through advocating for justice, or through other kinds of solidarity actions? Yeah, feel free to also use this platform to share what has been most memorable to you that you have heard from our speakers today. Hmm. Yep, so Emily mentioned to continue talking about the Palestinian struggle. I think that's something that we could all try to do, and it's not that difficult to do if we pace ourselves, and yep, it's quite a low barrier to at least remembering Palestine. I think for myself, just a reflection is also that when people ask me how I'm doing, it's difficult not to mention Palestine when I'm thinking about Palestine every day. So I feel we could be less shy about those thoughts, about those worries, and to share it with people around us. Yep, so right of return, I think this is a topic that we could continue to advocate for in the form of international law as well, that we could first learn up on our own what that means, and then to know what international law talks about, and to always remember that Palestinians, they ought to be able to return to their homes. Yep, so I do see mentions of boycott, resisting consumerism and excessive material needs, which is good for our pockets, good for sustainability anyway. So being a lot more conscious of our purchases and the brands that we support. It's always something that we could do that actually has quite tangible impact. Yeah, and remembering the privileges that we have, the comfort that makes it easy for us to forget about the people in genocide. I think reminding ourselves of that is also very important. Yeah. Okay. I think I also want to emphasize back what Yulianna talked about, which is education between parents, young parents and children. I think that is also one very tangible way that we could contribute to remembering and advocating for Palestine, especially across generations. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I think we would move on. I know that we have already run over time. I hope that people can stay with us for just a few more minutes for us to cover the last part of our event today. So this Padlet will continue to see live. Feel free to share your thoughts, read what other people have written, interact by liking, by commenting as well. Yeah. Okay. I'll hand the time over to my teammate, Ruth.
Thank you, Coco. Thank you so much for hosting this entire event so gracefully. And thank you all for being with us tonight. We have heard powerful words from Baha about the legal right to return, from Brother Muntaser on the resilience of youth, sport, and community spaces in Jerusalem, from Dr. Fauziah on the power of women-led organizing and regional networks, and from Yulianna on the importance of civic responsibility and solidarity in our daily lives. So these stories tonight reminds us to return to 29th of November, which is to return to its true meaning, which is standing in solidarity with the Palestinians by centering what matters most to them. So let this day push us towards sustained strategic action and amplifying Palestinian voices while defending their right to self-determination and pressuring governments to uphold international law. So return at the end of the day is not just a concept, it is memory, land, action, and above all, hope. And each of you being here, listening, reflecting, learning helps us to keep that hope alive together. So just do hang on for a few more minutes as we share some updates and exciting launch of a creative contest titled To Return, to Remember. If something from tonight stayed with you, it can be a story, an image, a line, or a new understanding. We invite you to express it in any form you like, a short paragraph, poems, a sketch, photo, or voice note. And here are some prompts for inspiration. I shall not go through all of them, but submissions are open until 15 December, and the top 3 entries will receive a small surprise gift from us. So you can submit them via Instagram DM or through our Echoes of Gaza email. And we would also quickly want to take a moment to look back at where this movement started. Echoes of Gaza was actually born in 2023, but our solidarity runs far deeper than any single moment. From Singapore and beyond, we are a diverse collective grounded in one belief that resistance is care and solidarity must be lived every single day. So AWDA, this event is just not a single event, it's part of a larger journey. We started in October 2023 with the Ceasefire Letters Initiative. In the following month, a petition to end diplomatic ties with Israel, and a gathering on the International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian People called the Olive Tree Resistance, which was our first event. And during that event was when we were reminded that resistance is not just political, but cultural, creative, and human. And in January 2024, we had another event called the Soul Grow Resist, where we explored meaningful action here in Singapore and the region. We shared strategies and brainstormed ways we could all contribute to solidarity. And we had live sessions with Gazans like Hamza, who was from one of the families whose fundraisers we are still amplifying till today. And in September 2024, we had Watermelon, which brought together artists and poets from Gaza, Singapore, and the US, reinforcing that art is resistance, memory, and survival. Before that, we had the call submissions for supporting the BDS movement in solidarity with Palestine. And because of the lack of time, I'm not going to go to the rest of the events, but basically, you can see how each of these moments has brought us closer together and led us to tonight's gathering. Along the way, we have been joined by incredible individuals and organizations, artists, activists, ordinary Singaporeans, and community members far and near who have contributed to this movement. Through art and dialogue and collaborations with various groups, including our dear ally, Professor Walid, we have kept the call for justice alive. Together with every voice and every action, we continue to build a movement rooted in humanity, courage, and the unwavering pursuit of liberation. So just a quick 2 minutes, we wanted to share an excited latest project in collaboration with Samuel, who is the director of the Echoes of Gaza archive, an open source community-driven archive documenting the ongoing occupation, displacement, and genocide in Gaza. This aligns with the ICC's increasing efforts to encourage the public to document and share evidence of crimes that fall under its jurisdiction, particularly genocide and crimes against humanity. Sammy, a quick 1-2 minutes introduction about this archive that you're working on.
Yeah, all right. Thank you for the introduction, and thanks everyone for staying on over the time we were expecting. We wanted to showcase the archive really quick, which is as stated, our new edition, our new project, the goal here is to center Palestinian narratives and voices, showcase stories that might otherwise be deleted. The archive stores articles as code, as screenshots, and locally stored in case they get erased, which has already been an ongoing process. We believe that history is power and preserving history is an act of resistance. And so we invite you all to become contributors to our archive. It's echoesofgaza.org, and I will send it in the chat right now. Oh, already sent. And on this page, you can submit articles, videos. There's access to resources such as maps. We have a racial bias tool that changes how narratives are framed to showcase double standard, as well as many of the names of the martyrs as we can get from the Gaza Ministry of Health. And yeah, so we'd be grateful if you check it out. We're open to as many collaborators and sharing this as far as we can. But link is in the chat, and you can also find it on our Instagram page. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sammy, for that quick introduction. We will definitely post more about the archive in our Instagram page, so stay tuned in that. So if tonight moved you, we invite you to join us. We're actually recruiting for 2026 and have 3 branches in our team. So first of it is community building team, where we nurture safe and respectful spaces. And second is events and partnerships, where we organize and bring gatherings to life, like this kind of events. And we will probably have more physical events in Singapore next year. And then the third branch is creative team, where we amplify Palestinian voices through storytelling, design, and content creation. So you can scan the QR code to sign up. And to stay updated with actions, resources, and events, you can also join our Telegram group, the Olive Tree Resistance, and follow us on Instagram at Echoes of Gaza. These platforms are where we share resources, templates, and ways you can take action here in Singapore. So yeah, you can scan the QR code here as well. So sorry, I'm going through really fast. Don't want to take more time. So before we close, please take a moment to also fill out our feedback form. Your reflections really help us improve and create better spaces for change. And as we move forward, let us always return to tonight's lessons for grounding, especially in difficult moments. Most importantly, we must return to the Palestinians and remember what is truly at stake in this fight. So thank you for spending your evening with us. Your presence and engagement made this movement even more stronger on this International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people. May we carry the stories we have heard tonight, not just in emotion, but in action. And thank you for all the speakers who have stayed with us till now. And from all of us at Echoes of Gaza, thank you and good night.
I'm gonna sing a song today. شيل شيل يا جمالي شيل يا حوطك بالله دم الشهيد معطر بالهيل ليل يا ليلو ويل ويل عالظالمين ويل ويل من الله لا أسهر على نجوم الليل أنا ناديله شيل شيل يا جمالي شيل يا حوطك بالله دم الشهيد.
This music teacher in Gaza has become an internet sensation from using the sounds of Israeli drones to teach children to harmonize. Despite months of Israeli assault on Gaza, Ahmed Abu Amsha, who teaches at the American International School, has continued music classes and now works as a coordinator of music activity in a displacement camp in Gaza City.
In these moments, we forget the war, so this is coming light in my head. Why not we make some activity, music activity, despite this war? So we begin it like small project, then we make it big, and I call my colleagues in Edward Said Conservatory about this activities, and they told me we are with you.
دالي يا روينا للدير شمالي دالي يا روينولو عالي ليلة الابواب قولولو بتفتح شمالي دالي يا روينولو واني الليلة نبعث مع الليل الريح الشمالي دالي يا روينولو يا سيلي لرويدو والليل اللي على لحبيلي لابا يا روينولو شمالي دالي يا روينا للدير شمالي دالي يا روينولو عالي ليلة الابواب قولولو بتفتح شمالي دالي يا روينولو واني الليلة نبعث مع الليل الريح الشمالي دالي يا روينولو يا صيلي لرويدو والليل اللي على لحبيلي لابا يا